Greetings and salutations, internet netizens. It is I, Wolfphototech, and here we are with, I'm going to have to turn that light on. And turn that light on. And now it's a little bit brighter in here. Today I'm going to cover this, the Star Frontiers Gamemaster screen by TSR, or the original TSR. So, the number for this item is 6801. Go ahead and check the back. It's copyrighted in 1983, TSR Hobbies, Incorporated, all rights reserved. Has a very nice piece of artwork right on the front cover, which is also the outside of the screen. I do believe I have everything here for this. So you got some booklets inside. Don't worry about the cough. It's a issue that I have had for several decades. Apparently, I have 2 copies of Assault on Starship Omicron by Mark Akers and Tom Moldvay. A little mini module. This kind of throws me off weirdly because I don't know why there's 2 of them in here. Maybe there was a free-flowing one. Maybe it normally comes with 2. I do not know. I could probably go ask Ernie about it. You know, he might actually give me an answer if it actually came with 1 or 2 copies. But there's 2 copies of the mini module in here. And then there is several pages of maps that are included in here as, I would believe, handouts. 1980s computer graphics is amazing. Yeah. You know, I was born in the 1980s. Interestingly enough, this came out in the year I was born. So, as you can see, when I open it up, what would be the front facing the players, there are several charts on that side, as well as there being charts on the inside. Now, what I typically do with these is I'll go left to right. I'll say whether it's landscape or vertical. This is obviously vertical. I personally do not mind vertical Gamemaster screens. It's easier to hide taller miniatures behind them. And if set at decent distance, they don't block up too much view. But most people like landscape setup first. Landscape would typically sit around about this tall. The nice thing about landscape over tall vertical ones is when you look at the very bottom stuff, if it's really fine text down in the bottoms of the screen, it becomes harder to actually see the fine text down there. However, the font size for this I'll push this stuff back here. The font size here is actually quite large enough that you could pulp with this ultra high definition video, by the way, buddies, that I went and upgraded some of my equipment. Can now probably read this screen from there. You just have to pinch in and open up. But anyways, it is you have a nice little weapons table, a melee table right here, inertia, Gauss, Sonic, STI check, etc. And then a ranged weapon combat procedure table, which marks out the procedures for various weapons and and arrangements of combat, like going two-handed, 2 weapons, or wrong hand. If your primary hand is your right hand, if you're using your left hand, what is the modifier for using that? Melee procedure, combat sequence. That's nice and handy dandy for an old school game, because there is actually a great deal of procedures going into combat. And at some point in the future, I might actually do a video series on how to play advanced Dungeons and Dragons First Edition and Second Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Second Edition. Since Seth Sarkowski will not do that, I will do it. It's going to not be as nearly as good as more experienced people at it than me, but I will try to stick to it as close as possible. You got character movement table by species or race. You got typical NPC section here. You got their strength, stamina, dexterity, RS, intelligence, log, logic, perception, leadership, PS, IM. Typical creatures, herbivores, carnivores, and omnivores section right here. This this is the common range of characteristics for each creature type. As in herbivores typically are X, how many are in a group, so on and so forth. You got a typical range for carnivores, typical range for omnivores. Personally, I feel that the carnivore range is actually, for how many are in a group, is actually a little on the high side. I think that is probably just designed in that fashion just so that the party has some difficulty dealing with them. Otherwise, if you just have like a solitary lion or tiger like creature, it would not be terribly difficult because you could all focus fire on one target. So that's why it automatically starts, or it's with a greater than something, greater than one number. Usually like 1 to 5 or 1 to 2 for giant size. You got skill success rates right here. This is all done in percentages because a lot of old tabletop games from the 1970s and 80s typically use percentage dice for more find actions and skills. And you also have a vehicle data table, a vehicle damage table, and a flying vehicle damage table, and a racial reaction modifier table down here. Because different species have different reaction times wired into them. Because, you know, there is variations between various organisms. Some organisms have, like, human males have larger optic nerves going from their eye to their brain. So men see things and the image goes to the brain faster than some other creatures. There are a few other creatures, just like mantis shrimp, that have really fast optic nerve connection, because they have like copper or something else bonded into their connection that amplifies the speed in which the signal is sent. In the case of other creatures, they have smaller optic nerve connections, and they see and process the world slower. Squirrels are actually one of those, by the way, going back to the faster perception creatures, squirrels are actually one of those creatures that see the world in slow motion. If I ever get around to training an army of squirrels to be ninjas, get them little katanas, that'd be awesome. But anyways, we flip around to the front side, and what we have here is we got prices for weapons, ammunition prices, and energy rounds and such. You got gyrojet weapons, grenades, or archaic weapons, which is like axes, bows, stuff like that. Other melee weapons, ammunitions, defenses. You got toolkit prices right here. Miscellaneous equipment table right here. Robot prices. Standard robot cost table. Skill cost table. Terrain effects table. And computers right down here. And then you got the nice artwork here. My first and foremost issue with this is that this information is facing the players. I have an issue with that only just because that some game masters might want to alter some of the prices on here, and some players might want to just go with the standard price, because if you're playing in an area where it's harder to come by a particular type of weapon, having the prices appear when you want your automatic pistol to be 300 credits instead of 200 credits, your player sees that. You got some players that will get a little miffed, varying ranges, you know, like they're not like happy that you're charging them an extra 100. But then you also have some players that will argue with you because they'll see the price up here. Furthermore, my issue with the tables on the outward facing side is that they're not on the inside as well. Because if they were duplicated onto two more panels, you would have that information on your side. So if you were doing your thing as a game master and a player asks you for something, you know it's a price that's on the front side of the screen, you're either going to have to go to the book and dig through the book to find the prices for that item, or you're going to have to do this. Look around your screen or pick up your screen, revealing what's behind your screen, and look at the price. There's some issues with some older systems. But there's also some amazing stuff, and I do really like the percentile system. It's one of those things that I kind of miss, even though it's a thing from the time before I got into TTRPG games. But it's a really cool concept. I really do like the percentile concept. Call of Cthulhu and RuneQuest operate on a percentile system, as well as Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, which operates on a D10, D100 system. Those are awesome systems if you love to roll your D100s, or to add your 10 to 10s. But overall, I do love, even in the fact that this is a very flimsy, non-cardboard stock screen, that I do love that everything is effectively spaced out, very cleanly. It's not overly cluttered at all. No part of this screen feels to be cluttered. I have mild dyslexia and ADHD and a few other quirks. And I really do like the fact that everything is just spaced out just enough that it doesn't have the problem of running into itself. And people with dyslexia and ADHD will say, yeah, that's a serious issue sometimes. When you get too much text too close together, the brain screws up and smashes the words all together and you can't process it. I do love the blue and white with black. Text on the backside. That is actually rather nice. And now on to the other thing. As I said before, there is Assault on Starship Omicron. It's actually fairly well written out, very clean and clear and precise language. There's only a total of, I forgot how many pages. I don't have a clipboard that says that. 7 pages, plus a map on the backside of the Starship upper deck. Everything in here is cleanly sectioned out. You got your little how to use this module section in the front, a movement table, which is handy dandy. It moves into the first section, combat and movement, bridges, counter, computer room, and etc. It goes through the basic parts of the ship. It goes through the Satar attack scenario right here. It's all in one big spot. You got a rogue robot scenario right here. That continues on to the next page. And then you got pre-rolled character section. So you can hand out pre-generated stats to all your players. And you got NPC statistics, as well as various other alien life forms on these two last pages just before the map. The nice thing about this is that you basically read through this page right here, these 2 pages right here, and then you read through the back few pages, and when you decide to begin play, you set up the scenario as is, and the Sota attack scenario is literally on one page, and the rogue robot scenario literally goes, is this little section on the bottom of the one page, and goes to the next page. And really, the bulk of what the players are playing is all on this second page right here. So you're just sitting there, you just plop this down, you read through it. If you have any mental questions, like, okay, what did I screw something up? It's all right there. It's easy to go through. You just go a page over, and you got NPC statistics as well as creature statistics, and boom. And you have the map on the back. If you can copy the map onto a bigger piece of paper, you're awesome. The nice thing about my pile here is I actually have 2 copies, so it can actually be open to both sections at the same time. That'd be really nice. And it also came with these maps. This is the map of the region of space. It's actually fairly clean and clear, considering that it's a really old 1980s map. It is actually exceedingly well designed and is very considerate of a player and a game master's need to quickly deduce what pieces of information on this map to use. Incredibly intelligent. It sticks out on the camera quite well. It'll zoom in, and you can even read the key. You have a nice little piece of paper right here with your little diagram of the Clip Eclipse CAS panel schematic. On the next sheet, you have a tree, a political structure tree, and megacorp tree. You have another version of the same map right here, but in smaller size and color coded. It's actually numbered page 1. And funny enough, I think this was just all printed out by someone and included into the pile. And then you got a typical Chromocom communication panel. And that's what came with my copy of the referee screen and mini module. I think they accidentally bundled in an extra mini module with mine. But anyways, it's actually quite nice. And the scenario here, the 2 scenarios in here are basically just short enough to quickly be one-shots in themselves, which is nice because that gets your players into like the question of, do we want to run this system? Well, there happens to be, if you got the game, the referee screen or the game master screen, and you have your box, Alpha Dawn or the basic rules box, you could just run this through and find out whether your players like it, and then go on to buy other modules for it. And considering that the prices are actually really reasonable for this stuff back in the day, you could easily buy a new game system, have your players try it out, say boo, boo, and okay, yeah, I know that you do not like Star Frontiers, or you do love Star Frontiers, and then I can move on to something else. The problem with modern gaming, oops, I shouldn't be that rushed with that. The problem with modern gaming, what I meant by rushed with that, I mean I threw it onto my pile of stuff. The problem with modern gaming is that you end up having to buy $20 boxes or $50 boxes and $50 books just to run a game, when something like this is like probably $9.99, $19.99. This is actually dirt cheap. You probably buy the box for $9 or $19. If you look at the original Dungeons and Dragons box, this is actually a later print. I think this is probably the 12th printing. $10. $10 for a whole game. This is the thing that Gary Gygax and Gary Gygax had to take out a loan for. And then he sold it for $10. Yeah. But that's how it was back in the day. A lot of stuff was a lot more affordable and cheaper. And I should have never tossed that like that. Be a little nicer to it. I'm going to have some person come in on this video and yell at me for throwing that onto my pile of stuff. I already did this in a review in the past. Put this up in here in the Oriental Adventure section. I have the 3rd edition Oriental Adventures here. And the Rokugan setting by AEG for the Legend of the Five Rings, which was built off of the Oriental Adventures. And then I also happen to have here on my pile Legend of the Five Rings 5th edition beginner box, which I'm going to do in the near future. I have the RPG starter kit from Q Workshop. I have the Pathfinder 2nd edition playtest book. I have Symborium here. I have Spectacular Settlements by Nord Games. That's an amazing book. I have Odyssey of the Dragon Lords by Modifius. This is actually a fairly hard to come by book now. A lot of websites, the prices are cranking up on that. This is the main book for it. The first book was the Player's Handbook. This is the main book for the actual adventure. I happen to have the Gamemaster screen with handouts and maps right here. I have the RPG Pundit's Invisible College here. That's a hefty book. Imagine how thick this book would be in hardcover. It's practically in the territory of of the core rule books for Paizo. I got stuff from Troll Lord Games here. And so much more. I had to get through that. Right now, I'm just letting my video run to find out exactly how far it goes before it times out. I also happen to have the 40th Anniversary Keeper's Tip Book for Call of Cthulhu 7th Edition. I got the Paranoia Starter Box here. I got Tome of Alchemy for 5th edition, or Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition by Necromancer Games. The piece of paper on the top is literally there because I am bookmarking a section for a player that happens to have a warlock who, in my campaign, that dabbled a little bit into alchemy. And for whatever reason, he hasn't been doing too much into the alchemy thing. So, I got tons of cards from Paizo to cover. I got the Weapons and Armor deck. I have the Adventure Gear deck. I have the Chase card deck. I have the special battle card decks for Abomination Vaults. The Book of the Dead, Fist of the Phoenix. I got the regular ones. I got stuff for Starfinder. Starfinder spell cards. There's actually 2 different decks. I actually have the Starship Combat cards. If you see my shirt, there's dog fuzz all over me because my dog. I got the Infinite Worlds deck for Starfinder. And when is this gonna run out of record time, or did it already run out of record time? And I just happen to be talking so long and so hard about Star Frontiers, referee screen or Gamemaster screen that I did not see it roll over. I don't know. But I do say this is actually a pretty good screen. And I probably would give it 3.75 stars to 4 stars. My only issue is it's not a cardboard based one, and it's only 3 panels, and two other sections are on the front side pointing at the players. But the sections that are pointing towards the players are probably the least problematic side pointing at the players. So, thank you very much for watching my video. I got some tasty Dairy Queen. Although I could have gone over to Culver's and get some Culver's. For those who do not live in the Midwest of the United States, Culver's is a custard place with pretty decent burgers. If you ever come across the Culver's, go ahead and try out Culver's. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you have a delightful day, a nice night, wonderful week, and see you next time. I'm trying something here to see. There's a mode on this camera that it starts it if you put your hand up and hold it, and that was kind of handy. That's what you saw at the very beginning, so I don't have to lean forward and hit the button. But it doesn't seem to work for shutting it off. Off. Alrighty, let's see here. I'm going to go put the